You walk into a room you've never been in a city you've never visited, and for about 10 seconds you are absolutely certain you've stood in that exact spot before. Not, "This reminds me of somewhere," not, "This looks familiar." With total conviction that this specific moment has already happened, and at the same time, you know that's impossible. That feeling has a name older than the science behind it. Déjà vu, French for already seen. About 60% of people get it at some point, most of them in their teens and 20s, less and less as they get older. And for over a century, the only real theory anyone had was that your brain glitched and manufactured a fake memory. That theory just got overturned by a scientist who scanned people's brains while making déjà vu happen on command in a lab, on purpose, dozens of times. Start with the person who took déjà vu out of folklore and into the lab. Cleary, a cognitive psychologist at Colorado State University, who has spent about 20 years studying it. Her method sounds almost too simple. Cleary put people in virtual reality and walked them through 3D scenes: bedrooms, gardens, hospital corridors built using the video game The Sims. Later, she showed them brand new scenes. Some of those new scenes secretly shared the same spatial layout as ones they'd already seen. Same arrangement of walls and furniture, just reskinned to look completely different. People couldn't consciously recall the earlier scene, but when the layout matched, they rated the new scene as far more familiar, and significantly more of them reported the specific, uncanny sensation of déjà vu. Cleary calls this the Gestalt familiarity hypothesis. Your brain doesn't just remember objects, it remembers the shape of a space, the configuration of things relative to each other. When you walk into a new room whose layout happens to match one you've forgotten, your brain flags it as familiar, but you can't recall the original, so you're left with pure familiarity and nothing to attach it to. Cleary put it plainly: you have familiarity in a situation where you feel you shouldn't have it, and that gap is exactly why déjà vu feels so jarring. Quick thing, this channel does one of these a week: the hidden history behind ordinary stuff. Subscribing takes 2 seconds and helps a lot. So for decades, that was the leading explanation, and it fit a whole family of related theories. Déjà vu as a memory glitch. Maybe your brain briefly misfired and logged something as old the instant it happened. Maybe 2 separate memory processes fell out of sync for a fraction of a second. Maybe it was a false memory sneaking past your defenses. All of these theories shared one assumption: déjà vu happens inside your memory system. Something goes wrong in the part of the brain that stores and retrieves the past, the hippocampus, the temporal lobe. It was a reasonable guess. Nobody had actually watched a brain do it in real time. The problem, same as with a lot of the mysteries this channel covers, is that déjà vu is rare and unpredictable. You can't schedule it. You can't ask someone to have one on command, which means for decades, the leading theory about one of the strangest things your brain does was never actually tested against a brain having the experience. So picture what it took to finally test it. A volunteer sits in a chair in Scotland at the University of St. Andrews, listening to a list of words read aloud: bed, pillow, dream, night, tired, blanket, snooze, wake, doze, rest. 10 words, all circling one theme: sleep, that never actually gets said. This is an old trick from false memory research. Hear enough words in that cluster, and your brain will swear it heard sleep too, even though it never came up. Now the volunteer is asked directly, was sleep on the list? For a second, something strange happens. It feels like it was there. It feels certain. And at the same moment, some other part of the brain is insisting, no, check again, that word was never said. 2 confident answers contradicting each other at the same time in the same head. The researcher who built that scene is Akira, a memory scientist at the University of St. Andrews. He used exactly that wordless trick, a variant of a classic false memory procedure, to reliably manufacture the déjà vu sensation in healthy volunteers. Not everyone, not every time, but a good enough hit rate that in one study, 16 of 21 participants reported the real, specific feeling of déjà vu. Then he put them in an fMRI scanner and did it again, watching their brains live. Here's what he expected to find: activity in the memory regions, the hippocampus, the medial temporal lobe, the classic false memory territory. That is not what lit up. Instead, the activity showed up in the frontal lobes, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate. These are not memory storage regions. They're conflict monitoring regions, the part of your brain that checks your own thinking for errors. The same general territory involved when you catch yourself making a mistake. O'Connor's conclusion reverses the old theory completely. Déjà vu isn't your memory system malfunctioning and generating a false memory. It's a different system, one that audits That's your memory catching a contradiction and flagging it. Familiarity signal says, "Seen this." Recall system says, "No record of it." Frontal lobe notices the mismatch and says, "Something here doesn't add up." Déjà vu isn't your brain lying to you. It's your brain catching itself almost being lied to and telling you about it. Now, I want to be straight with you about what this evidence covers and what it doesn't. O'Connor's déjà vu, the kind produced by word lists in a scanner, is a laboratory analog. It's not identical to the spontaneous déjà vu you get walking into a stranger's kitchen. Researchers still debate how closely lab-induced déjà vu maps onto the real thing, and Cleary's spatial layout theory and O'Connor's conflict monitoring theory aren't fully reconciled into one single model yet. This field has had 4 or 5 competing explanations over the decades, and there's a reasonable chance more than one mechanism is involved. There's also a completely different, more serious version of this feeling worth knowing about. In temporal lobe epilepsy, déjà vu can be a symptom of a seizure starting an internal electrical event rather than a response to the room you're in. That version tends to be more persistent, more frequent, and often comes with other symptoms. If déjà vu in your life is intense, frequent, or paired with anything else unusual, that's a conversation for a doctor, not a YouTube video. But for the ordinary, occasional version, nearly 2/3 of people get the evidence increasingly points away from malfunction and toward maintenance. So go back to that 10 seconds in the doorway. Your instinct is to treat it as a glitch proof that your memory is unreliable, or worse. The evidence says close to the opposite. That frontal lobe activity is your brain's quality control system doing exactly its job, catching a false alarm from your familiarity detector before it turns into an actual false memory. You don't remember that room because you've never been in it. Something about its shape, the layout, the angle of a doorway, the position of a window resembles somewhere you have been, closely enough to trip the familiarity signal, not closely enough for full recall. And in that split second, some other part of your brain catches the mismatch and files a report. This doesn't check out. That eerie feeling isn't your memory breaking down. It's the sound of it working, catching an error before it becomes a false belief. The unsettling part isn't the malfunction. It's you, noticing your own brain do its job in real time, from the inside. So next time it happens, you're standing somewhere new, and for 10 seconds the room feels like it's already happened. You don't have to reach for anything supernatural, and you don't have to worry something's wrong with you. It's not a hole in your memory, it's a checkpoint in it. Somewhere in your head, a system built to keep you from believing things that aren't true just did its job in real time and let you feel it happen. Most of what your brain does, you never notice at all. This is one of the rare times you get to catch it working. If you got something out of this channel does one of these a week. The hidden history of the things you never think twice about. See you in the next one.